Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard. I'm here with Josh Olszewicz. Hey, Josh.
Brian, I am just still shocked every time you pronounce my name correctly. It just rolls off your tongue, you know?
This many years in, I got a lot of practice with a last name like mine. But I'm glad that I can still impress you after all this time, after our relationship has matured. So how you doing? I can't believe it's been a week. It's been the fastest week.
Good. It's the week is fast if you're farming yields and trading on Uniswap, sure, but otherwise for me, I was in and out of a long after that ascending triangle breakdown. Yeah, I'm just waiting for lower at this point, really.
Waiting for lower, and I mean, it's reasonable. What you're saying is reasonable, but I don't have to like it.
We had the Portnoy capitulation.
The Portnoy in, out, all in 1 week. Didn't last long. He became a Bitcoiner. He instantly became a shitcoiner. He won, then he lost. He capitulated. He's out, and he whined about it. He went through the whole cycle.
He really did.
In no time.
A week, he went through Kubler-Ross's grief cycle.
The whole thing. Yeah, I mean, well, that happens sometimes. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Hate to say it.
Yeah. When Bitcoin goes to 33K, he'll be talking about it. Especially if it happens at the same time where Mr. Stocks only go up, his stocks go down. That would be fun. You said it would be a fast week if you were one of these people on Uniswap or yield farming, and you know what, Josh, I am one of those people, and it's been a busy week. Dude, the freaking volume on Uniswap, I don't know if you've paid attention to it, but it has been insane. I'm on the beta site right here because it's a little.
So according to DApp Radar, the 30-day volume for Uniswap is 3.3 billion.
3.3 billion. 24
I don't know how much of that is double counted. I don't know if it's all legit, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
the
metric.
The 24-hour volume is 269 million almost, which is on a coronavirus type uptrend. Liquidity is interesting. It peaked at almost 300 million, and then it's down to 266. So I think this ETH off the top rope situation that we've got from 440 to 400, 395 or whatever it is right now. I think that's got people pulling out of some of those pools. So I think that might be a good tracker to see if the Uniswap fund is going to end. But the Uniswap game it's going hot. The liquidity in these pools is pretty amazing. Like some of the top pairs, just wrapped ETH, like WETH, I don't know how they pronounce that. That's like 120 million all on its own. But some of the top pairs, most of them are in like the $4 to $15 million of active liquidity, which is essentially a pool that you can trade in and out of. And, they use these automated market makers in the middle. So some of the stuff I've been learning about the liquidity on these, I'm actually a liquidity provider on a token now, Josh. I'm that much of a community member on one of these Uniswap coins. So you actually have to put in equivalent value of both coins, so of whatever the pair is. So if I'll use the one I'm actually in, since it's liquid enough, I don't care about talking about it. So I'm in one that they're proposing this yield farming thing called Ash, and then you have to hold the other two tokens, Zamp and Tobe, and it's like anti-ample. They built it as a thing against Ampleforth. So it's anti-ample, and then towers of tokens of Babel or something like that. They just have different burn mechanics. One burns when it goes too high, and the other burns when it goes too low. And the reward that you get is by staking the liquidity pool tokens that you get. So you stake the tokens. You have to put up 50-50 of each. You receive a token in return, and then when you stake that token, you get the third token. And then the determination is whether that third token has value. And the market so far is determining that these farmed tokens do have value, because we're seeing some of them. What was the one
define value?
Dollar value. What was that one that went above the price of Bitcoin?
YFI.
YFI. Yeah, I got to find it.
Yeah, ETH is getting angry right now.
Are we dumping on air? Am I gonna have
that
to
whole,
go to my
the whole scheme?
Am I gonna have to
is
go to
like-
my other computer to close my positioning?
That whole scheme is like pyramid Ponzi wrapped into a MLM situation. I don't know. I can't pretend to care. You know, I just can't.
Well, Wi-Fi went to $16,000 per Wi-Fi, even though the founder was telling people that it wasn't actually worth anything and it doesn't do anything. I don't know how many of these are exist in the market, but it went from 4,700, which I guess you could say it broke out of, up to 16,000. So it like 4x'd over the course of 4 days, something like that. Of course, it started at zero. So, or no, it started at, it looks like zero, but it's about $75. That's what they first traded at. So if someone was just farming Wi-Fi early, they actually held it that long, they just got really rich because they made like 1,400%.
Listen. If you get in the Ponzi, if you get in the pyramid scheme early, you'll make a ton of money.
We're not here to say that these have actual value. We're just saying they're trading for a specific dollar amount, and the entire crypto ecosystem is dancing with these. Is the way we'll put it.
I'm just here to say that the music is booming.
The music is
There's plenty
loud.
of chairs.
There
Take
are
a seat.
Many chairs. Ooh, and this is good. We are at 390. I like this.
It reminds me of a long time ago. There was this thing called 42 coin, I think, where there were only like 42 was the maximum supply, and so the price per coin was like insane. Just to like sort of get that headline,
super high.
that buzz.
Yeah, I saw Not So Fast talking about that one and a couple other folks that have been around since like 2013 or whatever.
Yeah.
They mentioned another one too. I can't
very
remember what it
similar
was.
situation.
Yeah, the lower the supply, the better it gets. The thing is, a lot of these are, I think, just inflationary forever. Like they started a zero supply, so people want all of them at first, but then they just go more and more and more supply, and it just naturally dwindles. I think Curve is doing that currently. By the way, I'm having to chart so much on a site that just loads anything on what is this website called? I'm so tired. Uniswap. It loads anything on Uniswap because like TradingView and TrendSpider, they can't keep up. There's too many new shitcoins being minted, and they can't keep up. Look at this freaking, I can't even zoom this far. I gotta Curve. One, they probably did some really sketchy stuff launching. We talked about that last week. It went as far as like $50, and I was asking a friend of mine who does this. He was like, "Yeah, these things should be like 30 cents, and they've bled to $3 a piece now." And it's just crazy, like because it's people can't get enough of them, so it prints these like Zeke-like numbers when Zeke started at zero with a NPR, radio anticipated launch, and then people realize how stupid that is after a few days, and then there's this long bleed. So I'm kind of interested in the farming concept. I'm just not very interested in a lot of the models that I've seen so far.
It doesn't reward holders. I'll just say it like that. That kind of schedule tells people to get out as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think it definitely in its current model is that way, and not something I'd want to hold on to. Like, I mean, yams have been crazy. A lot of these have been crazy. But I think what could get interesting is if there's a way that you can kind of create an emission schedule, kind of like you would in a proof of work coin. And if you can also make it to where it's not brand new. So that's kind of like why I like that other one. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But that one pulls away from the tokens that are being farmed, and the token that is farmed is where the new value comes from. So it's kind of a shift. And the thing is, I mean, it still doesn't have a purpose yet. So it's one of those where it's just a cryptocurrency. It's not like got a product attached to it or anything like that. So,
but at the end of the day, we talk about this stuff all the time. It's all the same thing. It's all about supply. When you look at the pre-mines, same situation. When you look at these coins, it's all about how's the supply going to be distributed? What is the vesting schedule for people who are investors or in early? All of that is incredibly important.
Right. And I think the only products that are really being built into any of them so far are things like what Synthetix has, where, they're putting together some token where it creates a mirror of a real world product like gold, or it's got a stable coin attached to it, or it's got a lending platform attached to it. And so we're just trying to figure out what's what. But nevertheless, there's a lot of action in this market. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty interested in that. I do think the market is getting a little saucy. Like even the stuff where I think, maybe.
You think?
Yeah. Like even
what was your first clue, Brian?
Like even something where I think, oh, this is cool. Like there was one where, they were building a platform for Uniswap, but you could use limit orders and, things like that, kind of the picks and shovels type of thing. But the sucker went like, what is it? It's still 600 or 700% over where it listed from. And that was like a 2x on top of whatever their sale was. So that's a 10x or something on top of somebody that was in from the pre-sale. So yeah, be careful out there. But just so you know, there's a ton of volume happening over there on Uniswap. I think from a trading,
just in case you haven't heard.
I think from
just
a trading,
in case you've been living under a rock.
And if you've been under a rock, from a trading perspective, I think it's been fascinating because there's tons of volume on there. People are doing it, spending a fortune on.
Listen,
on
Brian,
Ethereum.
Everybody's doing it.
No, but like
you gotta go. You gotta get on it.
What I'm saying, Josh, is if the fees were figured out and some of the trading tools were better, we could see the true arrival of the DEX. Like, we've been talking about that since we started the show. And
yeah, I agree.
If the fees come down, the tech continues to approve. If these market makers continue to approve these liquidity pools, we could see a true DEX with like. You keep your privacy, you keep your coins on your wallet. Some of those concepts that are things that we've wanted in crypto for a long, long time, maybe they're here. That excites me.
So I agree with you. The flip side to that is back to the same conversation we've been having for a while, is this regulatory arbitrage. The reason Uniswap is popping off is because you can create a coin and 2 days later have millions in volume with no regulatory oversight whatsoever, which is fine. That's okay. Like, I'm not this pro-regulator person, but this is why we're seeing what we're seeing,
Yeah.
We're seeing ICOs skip all the conference stuff, skip having a white paper, skip having any semblance of
no SAFT,
any reality, no SAFT, no nothing.
You don't have to. You just launch it on some open source protocol for doing an ICO, and then you list it on Uniswap and you're done.
Right. No KYC. Exactly, Kalani. And
the SEC is eventually probably going to have a field day with this, but it's going to take them a while to catch up, and it's going to be an absolute mess. So we're here for it.
So yeah, that's what this is about. This isn't like DEX's moment. This is all about a regulatory arbitrage. Unfortunately, I wish it was DEX's moment. I wish the ETH fees weren't infinity, and I wish that we could trade on chain cheaper. But the reality is that just isn't the case now. There are a lot of services that are collapsing because of these fees. One of them is TokenSet. Collapsing is the wrong word, but they have been paying for the fees for trading, but past this month, they won't be doing that anymore. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting when these services, what happens after the fees go down? Like if the services start to increase again as far as users and activity, or if
I think it has to go off chain. I think that's why OMG is probably mooning. I don't really know, but OMG's whole point was some kind of plasma layer 2 crap on top of Ethereum. I think Serum SRM is FTX's thing. We talked about that a little bit. It's another one that should be vastly superior to being fully on chain with Ethereum. You get these on layer 2, you get them on faster chains, you keep some kind of interoperability to where, there's ERC20 compatibility plus whatever it's on, that kind of stuff. If you work all that out and then you get a whole bunch of them and they blend together, maybe like, you kind of act between different varieties of these and they start talking to each other. That's where you start to get an ecosystem where I think the majority of traders could actually end up using something like this, where it's an actual decentralized, non-custodial model. And I think that's pretty cool from a evolution of that whole concept that people are starting to attach to it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that all the tools and technology is there. It's just not being applied the way that makes sense. You know, like Uniswap's popping off because regulatory arb, it's destroying the ETH chain. Tether's destroying the ETH chain. There's no KYC, but we have the technology for KYC on DEXs. We have the technology for liquidity aggregation. It's not necessarily happening. So there's all these like bits and pieces. There's technology for layer 2. It's not really happening yet in the derivatives market specifically.
Yeah,
there's an exchange that's launching soonish that should have that technology enabled. So it'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference.
Josh just threw out some Uniswap alpha for y'all. He just said he hated that word, so I had to. So yes, I'm with you. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Definitely derivatives have the longest catch up. I think for spot trading, I mean, you have to be with a certain size. Like if you're trying to trade with a small amount of money on this stuff, these fees are killer. If you're trading with enough money, the fees kind of fall into a percentage that's acceptable and you get over it, as long as the slippage isn't too bad. So there's kind of a magic middle, I think, where it's okay. But
if you're only making like double your fees, you know, is it really worth it?
No. And that's
if you're making several multiples of your fees, then it's worth it.
It's the same argument that we had for years about Bitcoin and Lightning. Like making a Bitcoin transaction could have cost more than you were sending in Bitcoin for some of those on-chain transactions back at the height of 2017. We saw that, or we're seeing that some now. If you pull that way down, then the ease of it is all good. Before this,
it's just scaling, right?
Yeah, it's just the evolution of it, and I think there's a pathway with all these altcoin chains that's a little simpler than it is for trying to scale Bitcoin. Rightfully so. Like in the end of the day, like who cares which one of these altcoin chains wins? You know, like you and I don't care so much about half of them destroying themselves trying versus Bitcoin destroying itself trying. Not so good for us.
It's like LTC. They're probably going to be adding extension blocks of Mimblewimble, which is this kind of like not easy to understand protocol thing where you kind of have your own specific sidechain for certain rules, but those rules can be pretty variable. So you run into issues of like hidden inflation and weird consensus things that can happen. So like I'm glad it's being experimented with and probably going to be online for LTC, but I'm happy it's not on BTC, right?
Yeah, you're happy it's on Litecoin, and so is Charlie Lee and everybody else that does anything on Litecoin. It's the whole point of Litecoin. There's no value in Litecoin unless you want to see it as some kind of like early adopter test net of Bitcoin technology.
That is a hot take, sir.
Sorry. I didn't know it was so hot. Let's get to what's going on with Bitcoin, Ethereum price, because it looks like we're we might roll over here on air, depending on how you look at it. We made a temporary new high. The Portnoy wick, what day? August 17th. He really wasn't involved very long. It was 4 days. But in reality, this has been since about August 1st, since we made a top.
I've got sourdough starters older than Portnoy's entry into crypto.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's only 4 days. You can't even start a batch of sourdough in the time that Portnoy spent in crypto. Oh God, I think we might have found a show title. If you'll remind me later. All right, so we're chilling up here. It's creating some nerves. What's your thoughts on price? I'm going to switch over to your screen.
So I started to get nervous when this ascending triangle on BTC didn't go to the expected level. You know, it immediately just came back.
I called that, switching back to myself real quick. I was like, are we going to go to the circle, which would put us at like 13K? And we didn't. We broke back down in the circle. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, that was a bad sign. ETH also had this, whatever you want to call it, flag something, that the upside was...
It wasn't significant. Didn't make
475 to 5, somewhere up here, you know?
And it made it to 440.
And that failed too. We have Link rolling over from all-time highs. That's usually a sign when the market leader fails to keep going that the market just needs a break. So all that tells me that we're probably going to mean revert, and that's why I'm watching the Kijun on the daily here. The other problem thing for me was this C clamp that's forming on BTC and ETH.
We got some new listeners since the market's hot. Can you talk about what a C clamp is? Josh uses a lot of tools for trading, but we're both momentum traders. Josh is very good at momentum trading using the Ichimoku Cloud, and he's going to describe to you a concept called the C clamp.
Yeah, so in general, when you have, you can look at any moving average, the 10 and the 50, for example, on ETH here. On any trend, you'll have like bursts of price action, but at the end of the day, price loves returning to this median line, the mean, whatever you want to call it. So you can use moving averages, you can use cloud, you can use whatever you want, but you can back test this a million years back, and you'll see all these tests of a very specific mean over time. And in general, for the cloud, the mean, I like using it just because it's very obvious when you see the separation in the TK lines here, and they flatten out. The target just becomes super obvious. Like it's painting 330 for several days now. So that's where I expect us to go.
So the Tenkan and the Kijun, they don't work exactly like moving averages, but they're kind of similar concepts. And similar to moving averages, when you get a large gap between the fast one and the slow one, the price is going to want to fill that.
And I was saying on Twitter, I don't know, 24 hours ago or something, that there's this potential for a head and shoulders on ETH that basically printed on Link first. So if you bring up the Link chart, that's a version of a head and shoulders. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a version of one, and it broke down. So it's hard to be bullish on ETH when Link is breaking down, right? Like, you don't need to trade Link or have Link to just see that in the market.
Yeah, it's been an interesting market. I actually traded Link on the long side today, but it was a pure 5-minute capitulation. Portnoy gets out of crypto, and it was down 16% on the day. So I got this 30-minute long trade that I just happened to time and had some money available to do so. But on the whole, it's kind of a bounce or die situation for Link USD, because if it makes a lower high, it kind of made a lower high, it's got to turn into an ascending triangle or something. I'm not saying Link's going to go die, but to me, I think Link, if we're still going to be in a bullish Bitcoin market in the long term, I think that Link might not make a new high for a while, and $20 will be the equivalent of what $400 Ethereum was in 2017. That's my take of the week. People might be sitting there waiting for Moon, more Moon. Link's already on the Moon, guys. But, they might be waiting for more Moon on Link while other things move, and Link can't capture $20. And then when it goes to 50 or something.
Yeah, I was also looking at Tezos. If you compare the Tezos chart to the Link chart, it just shows you how much Link is overperforming.
Yeah, I mean they were okay. They were both 2018 darlings or whatever, or 2019 darlings, whichever one. And then Link just started outpacing Tezos big time. The Oracle thing was, I guess, a stronger narrative maybe than whatever Tezos is.
Yeah, Tezos. To me, nothing is happening on Tezos. It's all just about staking. 80% of the chain is being staked. So it says to me there's nothing else to do with it, right? So
they're on that OCaml or whatever programming language, so it's not even similar to Solidity, so it's not the same developer pool. They got a lot of challenges from a network effects on the developer market side of things. I know they have a lot of people working on it, but it's not like people from outside are going to come choose it, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying one day it won't have more stuff on it. I'm just saying right now it's I don't see much in the dApp department. But I was on Link. I was also watching this MA multiplier, and I said at 18 that it's way above the average multiplier, moving average multiplier. and it's been a good sign that it's way overbought. And I mean, it's not exactly rocket science, but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
breaking that multiplier, so
it doesn't
it
have to be
shouldn't keep going.
it doesn't have to be rocket science. You're just saying like, here's the, here's where it's expensive, here's where it's cheap on a relative basis based on its own trends. It's kind of
Right.
similar to where, these aren't stocks, so it's really just the price. But if you think of a stock that's expensive on its price to earnings or not, it's a similar idea.
Yeah, and you can look at this. You can use this indicator for any chart: Tesla, Apple,
Sure.
BTC.
Yeah, I like this one that you've been using. I prefer this to pitchforks because it's more malleable. You know what I mean? Like it's more, a pitchfork is so firm. It's like it's this exact diagonal, and this shifts. Like these means go with it. Yeah, look, you got to make these dumb assumptions like, oh yeah, just blopped out of that pitchfork for.
Dude, the pitchfork is echoing this indicator. So
yeah, but I like
top. Hold on. Top. Okay. Top. like this stuff usually says the same thing.
I
Just
just
in
like
different
the
ways.
winding river version versus the straight line highway.
Yeah, but if you know how to read this, you're like, okay, I buy here, I sell here, right? Like,
yeah, similar idea. I just like when it's shown in a more fluid manner with those moving averages. All right, I got to show something on Ethereum. So this is what I've been watching. We totally broke down from it. This is why I continued my hedge after getting out of it for a bit this morning. I just put this red line. It's like, here's the old daily closes. We broke above it, and then we had 3 dailies that were pressing it, and now we've broken it on this one. This looks like a clean breakdown on Ethereum. Also, I'm showing the 20-day moving average, which is also the middle band of Bollinger Bands, if you follow those on a daily chart. 200-day moving average is down at 230. Our breakout was from 250, so it looks like a classic mean reversion play. I don't think we'll get to 250, but Ethereum is telling us, like, hey, baby, on a USD basis, we're going down. To me, I think a reasonable play would be the prior highs at like 285 to 290 if we have a big correction, and small correction would be like 350 if we're going to kind of just do a short correction and then recapture these moving averages, whatever. That's $100 off the top. Still not a small correction, but it's small relative to how big this move's been since March.
yeah, ideally we get a wick to 330 to hit the Kijun. That's what I want to see.
330 is the Kijun.
Like a high volume wick to 330 and a bounce. Speaking again about trends and different ways to trade it, this fractal alligator thing told me to jump out at, what's this level here? 414.
Nice.
So when we started breaking down from these fractals,
but that was several days ago.
That was the first time in the entire trend that we started to break that. It said get out. So
yeah, I would have made more. I would have made a lot more money if you'd sent me a message about that. Because I would have been able to get out when it got back up to 430 or 440 or whatever. I was contemplating it, and I did with some, but on my margin positions, I mean, I captured a lot and did well, but I mean, I could have made twice the profit if I got out like right at the top 440. But I was sitting there thinking like, are we about to blast to like 470, 480, like that triangle breakout that you were talking about? We just didn't do it.
Yeah,
that's okay. You take the next trade. Don't sit there and double down on something that you've won on and then turn it into an L. That's the last thing you want to do.
Yep, trading is like flatulence. If you have to force it, it's probably poop.
What?
You've never heard that?
No, I can't say that's a saying in my family.
It's not a saying in my family either, but
But you've heard it.
I've heard it. That's what I'm saying. As someone was asking us about legacy stuff, Dixie and whatnot. Dix still keeps going down, which is bullish for crypto. It broke 30, it broke 25. All that's fine. The correlation with SPX and NASDAQ is like 80% plus, though, which is troublesome because...
Yeah. Well, not to mention the S&P 500 is literally at its all-time high, and if it breaks up without being a fake-out breakout, it could be significant. I kind of think it's going to fake-out breakout, but I'm like, I've been a bear. I've been long in many times, but I've been a secular bear since like early 2018. So don't listen to me.
Yeah. I mean, common sense tells you this market is ready to go to zero, but we just keep printing money, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so it's at all-time highs. The VIX just continues to get crushed. The VIX is at 22 right now. It's all pretty nuts. Gold's drawing back a little bit, but it's not a sustained drawdown. I did take profit on my gold miners position. Fine. I got about. This is also why I didn't feel uncomfortable being largely out of the market. Is my long-term accounts I've had. I think I had 35% of my account in gold miners, and they more than twice outperformed the S&P. So I captured the relative gains. I mean, it would have been better if I was in both, but everything was still okay. It was okay.
You beat what's his face into the gold miners, right?
Who? Oh, Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, yeah.
I sold into the Warren Buffett pump. Thanks, Warren.
Yeah, the volatility on gold is crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, that's where a lot of I think that's where a lot of the Bitcoin volatility is coming from as well.
We were watching that bear div, and it didn't really matter; just kept going.
Yep. I mean, I think gold will have a really nice correction. I think along the lines of what we've talked about for a while, it'll probably align with VIX breaking up, like it did last time when VIX went to 85. Gold had a 14% drop, which wasn't that big, but I think it's hard to look for a significant gold correction until the market actually starts correcting as well, which is counterintuitive to what a lot of people are going to think. But in terms of how it actually works, that's how it's happened a lot. It's actually how it's happened with Bitcoin a lot too. So if Legacy rolls over, if the VIX starts spiking, also be careful with your Bitcoin longs. Maybe that's another time when to consider moving from like buying the dip to, putting some cash aside for like a more sustained dip. Even in Bitcoin bull markets, we still get 30 and 40% corrections in momentum alone. If Legacy rolls over in some capacity, we could get more than that. We don't know that this bull market is going to look like all bull markets, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so the weekly gold key June is at 17.
Yeah, so that's saying just a return to bullish. A bullish return to mean is a $220 per ounce decline.
Yeah, that's how much it's overbought right now.
Yeah, and the NASDAQ is insane. Like, I think it took some people don't like fib extensions, but I do. But yeah, it blasted basically right to or a little above the 1.618 extension, depending on how you draw it. Like Wix.
Who doesn't like fib extensions?
Some people. Anyway, so I think a 1.618 at the same on the Qs at the same time that the S&P is at an equal all-time high. I just think this market is really ripe for a potential like spike up, Trump tweet all-time high, go into the election, tank.
Dixie had a
maybe that's too easy.
Dragonfly this week.
Yeah, on the bottom side. Look at that.
Yeah.
What's that? Right at 93. You got it up to. I'll go to yours. Yeah, so right at 93 on the Dixie, which is a dollar index. Again, this is the type of thing from a macro sense, since Bitcoin's in big boy land right now. Josh and I both think this is important for Bitcoin. If that makes a upward move, that could have a negative effect on Bitcoin, at least in some capacity, maybe short term.
I don't think it's a diamond top, but
yeah, I struggle with those.
It could be,
Yeah, I just think that I'm bearish on the dollar in the long term because of how much money we've printed and all that. But a return to mean from a high of like 103 just a couple months ago is similar to everything else, completely reasonable. Like we could go up to 95, 96, for example, I think.
Like 80, 81, 82 eventually.
Yeah, well, the 95, 96 could be on the perfect bearish retest down to 81, 82.
Yeah. But that would be bullish for crypto, definitely.
Yeah, on that pure drawdown, what you want to do is you want to re-enter your gold positions, re-enter your Bitcoin positions, yada yada, as some of those macro things. You know, if the dollar gets to 94, 95, if the VIX gets back up to like 40 or 50, that's when you want to be spotting some of these Bitcoin relongs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just ancillary stuff to watch. Dixie movements, VIX movements, S&P, gold, NASDAQ. It's all worth considering.
One more Bitcoin, yikes. It's our weekly chart, swing failure pattern, yada yada. We're going to have a save the weekly situation on our hands this weekend, it looks like. 11,550 weekly close. We did it, we had it twice on the double top mid 2019, August 4th, marked the top, even though we wicked it to 14K. We had a full weekly body above that level this time around, but we need to wick it, because if we lose 11.5 on a weekly, that's going to create a lot of bearish momentum back to like 10.1, 10.2.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the weekly cloud.
That would still be bullish. That would still be a bullish market, but it would be it'd be a pause. It'd be a pause on the market, to say it that way.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. We need the port noise to get in late, sell the top, trigger a bunch of margin cascade, and then allow people to
reaccumulate.
Who actually are trading this to reaccumulate.
Yeah.
You know,
which I think makes sense at these kind of levels. I mean, we are beyond both your and my estimations of where we would be based on March. Of course, the whole freaking market is. We could be back at 6 or 7K right now, and if we had never made the moves we did, me and you would be thinking this is healthy, right? We just pushed way higher, and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed, and we longed our longs and all that.
Yeah, I mean, ETH was up, what, 300% from March. BTC's up 120% since March. It's kind of crazy. Link is up, what, 400 or 500%? What is that even?
A lot.
Let's look.
When I bought Link...
Sorry, hold on.
Go ahead.
It's up 1,500% since March?
Yeah, I bought Link at $1.85, $1.85, a lot of it. And I sold it at $2.30. Thought it was a good trade. It went to 19.
Like, at some point, you just got to say to yourself, you know...
Let's wait.
Let's get out here. Let's regather ourselves.
Yeah.
In a market that's up 1,500% in 5 months, it's a little insane, right?
Yeah. Another argument for Ethereum around that 275 territory. Not only was it the USD weekly close, the most recent one. Now the one back in 2019 was more like 305. Who cares? 275 to 305. Big buy zones. The 200-week US dollar Ethereum moving average is at 273 right now. If we go to 270 to 300, I am going to load the freaking boat on Ethereum as much as I can, even though it's a breach of a significant level. So this, I don't even know what you call this. I got a red box from 360 to 400. We've played with it as resistance June 2017, August 2017, broke through November 2017, tested it as support March 2018, broke through for the full bear market August 2018, wicked into it June 2019 as resistance, didn't get to it February 2020, and we just breached it. Now, if we, groundhog it and go back down here, I'll buy 270. That's also why I think it could be as violent as going back to 270. But there's we could save it like right around where we are. I mean, we've dumped like 10, 15 bucks like while we're talking. But, 375, 380, save the weekly, save the red box, and then if you were on a daily time frame, like you could consolidate between like say 375 and 440 for 3-4 weeks on Ethereum and still be bullish, very bullish. I would be very, very, very bullish if that happened. But if we don't, then I want 270.
Yeah, I don't think
they were seeing
below 300.
They were seeing your screen that whole time. Here's my dots. I tweeted this link earlier as well. My dots, my triangle, my red box. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The yearly pivot's at 300, VPVR support's at 300, Pitchfork median line's at 300. The 200 EMA is at what level is the 200?
I don't know. The SMA is what I was looking at 275.
SMA,
But
please.
bull markets, we moved back to EMAs. Remember, we talked about this.
200 EMA is at 250. Okay, so it's a ways away, but I still like 300.
Yeah. I love 300. Maybe we wick to 270, 275 if it's really violent. And then you've got, what am I looking at? Ethereum dollar, kind of
All
similar
the stuff I
concepts with
just
Pitchfork.
was saying.
What's your end of bull market? Can Ethereum make new highs, Josh? I want to know that.
This year, I expect 750 by
No, not this
December.
year. 750 by December. So you think even if we go to 300, we could still go to 750 by the end of the year?
Oh yeah,
That would be a really fun trade.
that's another 33K by July call. Oh yeah,
Oh,
easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem.
I mean, if we look at the weekly cloud, right? Like that's all I'm basing this off of, which is more substantial than a Pitchfork, which was the 33K call was based off a Pitchfork.
Yeah, and even if you're not using the cloud's based off the same thing that I was just showing with my horizontal levels, little red boxes. It was the high of the bearish retest in April 2018. It's this cluster we broke down from. It's a lot of stuff points to 750, even if you're just looking at past levels. That's what we like about technical analysis. If you're looking at trend following, if you're looking at level to level, there's a lot of things that point to the same stuff.
Somebody was asking about CME dates. August 28th is the next expiry. So this week. If we can survive this week without mega doom, I think we're okay.
I want to go, I know we talk about this like every week almost, but I want to go to the open interest on options because I was like super convinced that we were going to hit 400 last night purely because of this. There are 86.6 thousand Ethereum options of open interest at 400, the 400 strike. That is like 30% more than the next most popular strike. I just felt we were going to have a $400 pin. The August 21st, which was the one that we had last night, that open interest in total was 97,000 Ethereum. August 28th is 265,000, and then September 25th is 316,000. We have a lot of open interest over the next month or so, and the kind of highest peak of that is right at $400. So I'm going to have a hard time believing very much beyond 350 or 450 because eventually we're just going to pin back to 400 in my opinion. And I think Bitcoin is not as clear. Like there's not people love those round numbers. But Bitcoin has similar Bitcoin options. It's fine. Yeah, Bitcoin max pain 12,125. That's actually interesting. That's kind of evolved over the past couple of days because I think that a lot of open interest has come up around there. So that would indicate sticking around 12K consolidation.
Skew was tweeting about BTC open interest was either at all-time highs or approaching all-time highs over the past couple of days.
On futures or options?
Futures.
On futures. And those futures are spread out a lot more now.
Ripe for a big move.
And those futures are spread out a lot right now, aren't they?
What do you mean?
Well, they used to just all be on BitMEX, but now there's CME, there's Bybit, Deribit.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a ton of futures products. FTX is big.
Yeah, FTX gained a lot of ground.
OKEX, CME.
Cool.
BitMEX.
All right.
I was asking about stock to flow. Just talk about that real quick.
Of Bitcoin?
Yeah. You can look this up yourself on lookintobitcoin.com. Another great free site. But it's on trend. Stock to flow gets a lot of rightful criticism, but right now it looks fine to me. Like it's on the path, right?
Yeah. Do it. I don't know if I'm a stock to flow believer or not.
I'm not a believer, but it's interesting to watch, right? Like, I'm not going to say we're going to hit 90K by mid 2021, but to watch it evolve out is pretty interesting. I like MVRV much better, which is
What is that?
it's kind of like on-chain demand versus market cap.
Hmm.
And if the market cap is way bigger than the on-chain demand, your MVRV will get too big. And that usually is a top. Well, it has been a top the past 3-4 times. And we're
We're
nowhere
not even
near
close.
we're nowhere near that now. So that, to me, this just says there's a ton of upside potential.
So we just need to consolidate or buy a dip, like a sustained dip though. Don't freaking blow yourself out buying like a 5% dip on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think the ETH move was 20% from the other day. So I don't know what it is. Maybe another 10% from here.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it's up 400% in 5 months. Like, of
Right.
course, we're going to see some massive drawdowns here and then, you know?
I really think on Bitcoin, we'll find out on this weekly close. I think 10-2 would freak out a lot of people, and that's a great place to start, you know, rebuilding your position, unwinding your hedges, that kind of thing.
What's probably more bearish than anything is us dumping on the weekend. Usually, when CME is closed, we don't roll over unless we're mega bear.
It just means crypto insiders are the ones dumping it, not
I guess
legacy
I don't know.
people. Is that how we look at that?
It's usually not a good sign when we go below CME close on the weekend.
Yeah, there's some CME gap. I don't remember which one, but somebody, you know, somebody I follow, they always have these CME gaps that they keep on their chart. I think we filled one of them, but there's still one missing, and I don't know where that one is. Man, this Ethereum dump is nice right now.
Yeah, it's still going.
I'm enjoying it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. My hedge is doubled. So yay hedge.
It's good.
My hedge is doubled, and my altcoins haven't died yet, so that's nice.
Yeah, I can pull up the CME. What is it? BTC exclamation point or something?
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess there's a gap at
9.6. Bill 388. Thanks. He told us before you even found it. 9.6. That would be a hell of a wick. Good gracious. It would still be above the final consolidation, but like the one that'd basically be retracing the full breakout where everybody got like super hyped.
What the hell is this? I don't even remember that.
It happened on Bitstamp too. It went up to 10.4. I don't remember. We probably were feeling the pain at the time.
Yeah.
That would also be equivalent to going back to like 240 on ETH, which I don't see happening. But yeah, I mean, if that's a really interesting gap fill, 9.6, and maybe like I think that's what would get us to 270 on Ethereum.
That'd be pretty gross.
I don't want to count my chickens yet though, because I mean this really could just be a much cleaner short-term dip and consolidate.
It could be, but we consolidated, failed to continue markup. So I expect a mean reversion now.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I'm playing it. That's how you're playing it in the moment.
Yep. That's how we're playing it in the moment. What I'm doing tomorrow, I can't tell you. I was long this morning. I'm short right now. What am I going to be tonight? I don't know. Who knows? Never know. I think I'm going to close these puts, though. Actually, it's already bouncing. Let's leave it there, Josh.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. You can go to Carpe Noctem on YouTube. Great place to learn and see Josh's frequent updates. Go to ledgerstatus.com. Check out past episodes. Rate us on iTunes. We need those. We love those. Bull market coming up, baby. Got to capitalize. We'll talk to y'all next time.